Have you ever wondered what lies beyond everything we know? Beyond the galaxies, beyond the clusters of stars, beyond the cosmic horizon itself? We are told the universe is vast, so vast that the human mind can barely contain the thought of its immensity. Yet, the most haunting question of all is this: if the universe has an edge, what exists outside it? Let's begin. This is Sleeping Universe, ready to make you fall asleep. In the beginning, there was only silence. Not the silence of a dark room or an empty field, but a silence so vast that even the concept of silence trembled before it. Out of that silence came a spark, and from that spark, our universe was born. Stars ignited, galaxies spiraled, time began its endless march, and we, fragile creatures of dust and thought, awoke inside this cosmic dream. But dreams always have a horizon. They always have a place where the known fades into the unknown. And so we must ask, if the universe itself has an edge, what lies beyond it? The storytellers of old whispered that beyond the stars was a realm of gods. The philosophers argued it was nothing, a blank infinity beyond comprehension. And the scientists, with their instruments of glass and steel, tell us that the universe is expanding, rushing outward as though fleeing from something unseen. Yet none of these voices have truly answered the question: what exists outside the universe's edge? Imagine standing at the farthest frontier of existence. Around you, galaxies become faint embers, thinning into the darkness. Space itself stretches thinner until time feels sluggish, heavy, reluctant to move. Here, at the imagined boundary, you look outward and see what? Some say nothing. But nothing in truth is not nothing at all. To imagine a void is still to imagine a kind of space. Beyond the edge, there may not be even that. No dimensions, no distance. A place, or perhaps not a place at all, where being itself dissolves. For us, this is unthinkable. Our minds recoil from such an abyss because to enter it would mean to lose all that makes us real. But the fantasy does not end in nothingness. Others tell of the great ocean, a multiverse stretching without end, in which our universe is a single bubble drifting in the cosmic tide. Outside the edge, then, lies not silence, but infinity upon infinity, countless universes swelling, bursting, colliding. Each bubble holds its own truth. Stars that burn with impossible colors, worlds sculpted of crystal instead of stone, beings who do not breathe or think or dream as we do. Some of these universes may mirror ours, reflecting like glass. Others may defy every law we know, dancing to rhythms we cannot name. And in this vast ocean, our universe is but a single drop, trembling on the surface of eternity. Yet the story deepens still, for what if the edge is not the end, but a veil? Beyond it may lie the forge of creation, a realm where the architects of reality dwell. Beings older than time, beings that weave universes as easily as we weave words. To them, our cosmos is more permanent than a spark in the night. They craft, they destroy, they begin again. If you were to step outside the edge, you might find yourself not in a void, but in a workshop of the divine, where realities are shaped like clay, and existence itself is an art. But fantasy is not always light. Darker whispers say that outside, the universe is not a forge but a prison, that our cosmos is a cage built to protect us, or to contain us. Beyond the boundary may lurk ancient beings, devourers of light, who once roamed freely until they were banished to the beyond. Our universe, then, may be a shield, a sealed dome of reality keeping the chaos out. And when we gaze upward wondering what lies outside, it is like a child pressing their hand against the glass of a cage, unaware of the shadows staring back. And yet, there is another vision, stranger still. Perhaps there is no outside at all. Perhaps the universe curves back, upon itself, endless but finite, like the surface of a sphere. In such a cosmos, you could travel forever and never reach an edge, only return to where you began. The edge, then, is an illusion an echo of our limited perception. Asking what lies outside may be like asking what lies beyond the edge of a dream. For dreams do not have walls, they only end when the dreamer wakes. So then, is our universe itself a dream? If so, whose dream is it? Some say it is the dream of a sleeping god, whose imagination spills out as galaxies and time. Others whisper it is the dream of a vast intelligence, beyond comprehension, weaving reality strand by strand. And when that dreamer awakens, our universe may vanish in an instant, as fleeting as morning mist. Beyond the edge, then, lies the dreamer and their true world, which to us would be stranger than any fantasy ever told. Yet still, we wonder. Perhaps beyond the edge lies something even more mysterious than gods, multiverses, or voids. Perhaps beyond lies meaning itself. A place where every unanswered question, every longing of the human heart is fulfilled. A place where the essence of why we exist is finally revealed. If so, then to reach the edge is not to find an ending, but to step into revelation, a truth so vast that all of history, all of existence was only a prelude. And so, the fantasy remains. Outside the edge, there may be nothing, or everything, or something beyond those words. Perhaps it is not meant to be known. Perhaps the edge exists to keep us searching, to keep us restless, to keep our eyes lifted toward the stars. For as long as we wonder, we are alive. And one day, when humanity has crossed the final frontier, when we have walked among galaxies and bent the fabric of reality itself, we may at last stand at that edge and see for ourselves. We may gaze beyond, into, the realm of silence, or gods, or monsters, or infinite seas of universes. And whatever we find, one truth will remain. The question itself, the wondering, the reaching, was always as important as the answer. So when you ask, what exists outside the universe's edge? The truest answer is this: possibility. Possibility as vast as the stars, as strange as dreams, as endless as eternity itself. To speak of the edge is to speak of limits, but the universe does not like limits. It stretches, it bends, it twists reality until boundaries blur into illusions. And yet, every creature born of thought asks the same question: what lies beyond? Some say the edge of the universe is not a wall but a curtain. Beyond it lies the theatre of eternity, a realm where countless universes are staged like plays. Imagine standing in that place, gazing at endless curtains of shimmering light. Behind each veil, another cosmos is born, some blazing bright, others fading fast. We, inside our universe, believe our story is the only one. But to the theatre, we are merely one performance among millions, a fragile drama, acted out by stars and galaxies, watched by an audience that we cannot see. And when our play ends, the curtain will fall, and the stage will be cleared for another tale. But who watches? Who are the silent observers beyond the veil? Ancient myths whisper of beings that dwell in the in-between, creatures not of space, not of time, but of pure perception. They do not live as we live, nor die as we die. They exist in the corridors outside reality, their gaze passing over universes as easily as we might pass our eyes over a page. To them, our cosmos is delicate, beautiful, yes, but temporary. They are the keepers of the beyond, and whether they are guardians, jailers, or indifferent wanderers, no one knows. Yet the theatre is not the only tale. Some say that outside the edge lies the sea of chaos, a swirling storm of raw creation where the laws of physics are not yet written. Imagine oceans without water, fires without flame, winds without air, energies colliding, twisting, forming, sparks of possibility. From this sea, universes are born like bubbles rising to the surface of a boiling cauldron. Perhaps our universe was once such a bubble, floating upward from the chaos until it burst into the form we now inhabit. And when our time ends, perhaps we will return to that sea, dissolving back into possibility. Others say outside the edge lies a place more terrifying still, the Great Hunger. A darkness not born of absence, but of appetite. It is said this hunger waits beyond the walls of creation, forever pressing against the edges of the universe, eager to consume. The expansion of the cosmos, some say, is not growth but retreat, our universe fleeing ever outward to escape the jaws of the hunger. And one day, when the stars grow cold and the galaxies grow dim, the edge will falter, the darkness will pour in. And then, not just our universe, but every universe may be devoured, leaving behind only silence. But for every tale of dread, there are tales of wonder. Some imagine that beyond the edge lies the Garden of Origins, a place where universes blossom like flowers, each unique, each radiant with its own form of beauty. In that garden, perhaps the meaning of existence itself is planted. To step outside the edge would be to walk among these blossoms, to see not just what is, but what could have been. The lives we never lived, the choices never taken, the worlds that spun out of different beginnings, all blooming in eternal harmony. And then, there are those who dream of the river of time flowing beyond the edge. If our universe is a vessel, then perhaps it sails upon this river, carried from birth to death. Beyond the hull of our cosmos lies the current, deep and mysterious, carrying countless universes downstream. To peer outside is to see the flow of eternity itself, where past, present, and future are but ripples on the same current. And if one were to step into it, perhaps they would not just leave the universe, they would leave time itself, drifting forever among the echoes of all that has been and all that will ever be. Yet with each vision, one truth rises. The edge of the universe is not a place of endings, but of beginnings. To cross it is to encounter what words cannot hold. For language is born of this cosmos, our thoughts, our symbols, our logic. Outside the edge, those tools may crumble, meaning may fracture, and yet, in that breaking, new meaning may be born. Consider this. What if the edge of the universe is a mirror? To look beyond it is not to see other realms, but to see ourselves, reflected not as we are, but as we could be. A reflection not of flesh and bone, but of essence. Outside the edge lies the infinite self, the place where every consciousness returns when its journey within the cosmos is done. The edge is then not a wall, but a threshold, the threshold of awakening. And perhaps most fantastical of all is the idea that outside the universe lies the dreamer. Not a god in the traditional sense, but the consciousness within which all universes reside. Imagine a mind so vast that galaxies are its thoughts, stars its neurons, life its fleeting sparks of imagination. We, then, are the dream, living, moving, believing ourselves real. To ask what lies beyond the edge is to ask what lies in the dreamer's waking world. And perhaps, when the dreamer stirs, our universe will fade like a shadow at dawn, remembered only as a fleeting whisper of an eternal mind. Yet whether it is a theatre, a sea, a hunger, a garden, a river, a mirror, or a dream, these are only stories. Stories born of our yearning to know, our refusal to accept that there may be limits to understanding. Perhaps the truth is far simpler or far stranger than anything we have imagined. Perhaps the edge is both real and unreal, both barrier and invitation, a paradox, forever teasing us with questions that cannot be answered. But here is the beauty. The not knowing is not despair, it is wonder. It is the reason we look up at night and feel small, yet infinite. It is the reason we dream of journeys to stars, of voyages beyond horizons. For the edge of the universe is not just out there, at some unreachable distance. It is within us, in the limits of our thought, the limits we strive to surpass. So when you ask, what lies beyond the edge? The answer is not simply out there in the cosmos. The answer may be waiting inside you, inside the eternal hunger of the human spirit to go further, to seek, to imagine. The universe gave us this question as a gift, not a curse. And as long as we carry it, we will never stop walking toward the horizon, never stop seeking the edge, even if it can never be reached. And perhaps, just perhaps, that was the true purpose all along. There are moments when the night is still and the stars glimmer like ancient candles, that the mind dares to wander further than it should. We close our eyes, and for a heartbeat, we imagine it. We imagine standing at the edge of existence. The galaxies behind us glow faint and fragile, the final light of a cosmos that seems so infinite from within. And before us, a silence greater than silence, a darkness deeper than dark, a horizon where thought itself begins to tremble. This is the edge. And yet, even here the question burns. What lies beyond? Some say the edge is guarded by the veil of whispers, a shimmering boundary where reality thins and voices drift through like echoes from a forgotten dream. These whispers are said to be fragments of other universes, faint signals leaking into ours. To listen too closely is to risk madness, for the whispers speak not in words, but in truths too raw for the human mind. They say that beyond the veil lies a choir of infinities, and that every universe sings its song. Our cosmos is but one voice, trembling in a chorus without end. Others speak of the archive of shadows, a place beyond the edge where every possibility that never came to be is stored. Imagine a hall of endless shelves, each containing the ghost of a universe that might have existed. Here are the worlds where stars never formed, where life never rose, where history unfolded differently. If you were to step outside and walk among those shelves, you might find another version of yourself staring back, a self born in another cosmos, another story. To cross the edge is to wander the library of what could have been. But there are darker stories still. Some claim that beyond the edge lies the silent maw, a vast, unblinking void that hungers not for matter, not for energy, but for meaning. It waits in patience, pressing against the walls of creation, devouring the sense of all things. Step too far beyond, and your existence would not be destroyed, but forgotten, as if you had never been. To the maw, even universes are but morsels, swallowed whole, leaving behind only blankness. And yet, not all visions of the beyond are so grim. There is the legend of the Crown of Light, a realm said to lie outside every universe, a place of pure brilliance where all contradictions are resolved. There, time is not linear, but a circle. Death is not an end, but a turning. Every sorrow finds its answer, every question finds its truth. If this place exists, then to cross the edge is not to lose oneself, but to awaken, as though the universe was never a prison, but a passage. Some imagine the beyond not as a place, but as a dreaming mind. Picture a being so immense that its thoughts weave entire realities. Our universe, then, is but one dream among countless others. Outside the edge lies not a void, but the dreamer's awakening world. And when they open their eyes, our galaxies will vanish like the mist of sleep. Yet perhaps we too are fragments of that dreamer, tiny sparks of its endless imagination, yearning to return home. And then there are tales of the woven web, where universes are threads in an eternal tapestry. Outside the edge, you would see the weaving, patterns of infinite beauty, colors of existence beyond any spectrum. Every choice, every moment, is a strand. To step beyond would be to finally see the whole design, to realize that what seemed like chaos was always art, vast and deliberate. And in that instant, you might understand why existence was spun at all. Still, the edge may hold stranger secrets. What if beyond it lies not gods or gardens, not chaos or hunger, but ourselves, a greater version of us, the architect of our own reality? Perhaps the universe is a mirror, and outside its borders waits the true self, the one that dreamed, this world into being. When you look beyond the edge, perhaps you are not looking outward at all, but inward, into the deepest chamber of your own soul. And yet, no matter how many myths we weave, no matter how many fantasies we tell, one truth cannot be escaped. No one has seen beyond. Perhaps no one ever will. Perhaps the question exists not to be answered, but to be asked. For it is in the asking that we stretch the limits of imagination, in the wondering that we become more than what we are. The edge may never be crossed, but in dreaming of it, we ourselves expand. So what lies beyond? A veil of whispers, a library of shadows, a hungry void, a crown of light, a dreamer's mind, a woven tapestry, or perhaps nothing at all. And maybe that is the most terrifying thought, that when we arrive, there will be no curtain, no stage, no dreamer, no gods, only silence, endless and final. But even if that is true, we will still keep walking, for the mystery itself is what drives us forward. The universe gave us stars to light the night, but it gave us questions to light the soul. And among them, none burns brighter than this. What exists outside the universe's edge? Perhaps one day, long after stars have died and galaxies have crumbled, consciousness will find a way. Perhaps we will break the veil and see for ourselves. And when we do, whether we find wonder or horror, light or nothingness, one truth will shine above all. We were creatures who dared to ask. We were dreamers who walked to the boundary of everything and peered into the unknown. And perhaps that courage, that longing, was the answer all along. The edge of the universe is not a single idea, but a canvas for every fear, every hope, every dream humanity has ever carried. For as long as we have looked at the stars, we have sensed it. That faint whisper that beyond the galaxies lies something greater, something unimaginable. And though no traveler has ever touched the edge, our imagination has already crossed it countless times. Some say beyond the edge lies the sanctum of origins, the place where all beginnings are kept. Picture a vast hall of light, endless in its scope, where each beam of radiance is the birth of a universe. Here, the very spark that ignited our cosmos still burns, eternal and untouched by time. To step into the sanctum would be to witness the moment of creation itself, not as history, but as a living, eternal act. For outside the edge, perhaps beginnings never end, and creation is not something that happened once, but something that is happening always. Others tell of the silent choir, a congregation of universes humming in resonance. Each cosmos vibrates with its own frequency, its own cosmic song. Ours hums in patterns of gravity, light, and time. But beyond the edge, you might hear the songs of others, melodies so strange that they feel like voices from another language, harmonies born of physics beyond imagination. To stand outside would be to hear the orchestra of existence, each universe singing to the whole, each note an echo of eternity. Yet for every tale of harmony, there is a tale of dread. Some speak of the Unmaker, a force older than any cosmos, lingering beyond the walls of creation. Unlike hunger, unlike void, unlike chaos, the Unmaker is pure stillness. It does not consume, it erases. Where it passes, not even memory remains. Our universe may expand not into nothing, but into the Unmaker itself, dissolving as a painting dissolves into water. One day, perhaps, we will not merely die, but be unwritten. The story of everything, torn from the page. But legends are not only filled with fear. There is also the tale of the Celestial Bridge, a path of light said to connect one universe to another. If such a bridge exists, then outside the edge lies not emptiness, but connection. Imagine walking that bridge. Stars flowing beneath your feet, galaxies blazing above your head, and at the end, another cosmos waiting, vast and alive. To step beyond would not be an end. It would be a passage into a greater infinity. Some imagine the beyond as the eternal archive, where all universes are recorded by forces beyond comprehension. Each life, each moment, each breath is etched into the fabric of the archive. Outside the edge, nothing is lost, nothing forgotten. Perhaps the edge itself is a threshold of memory, and beyond it lies the place where every life continues, forever preserved. If so, then perhaps death is not an ending, but merely a return to the archive, to be remembered by eternity itself. And then there is the most wondrous tale, the Kingdom of Dawn. This is said to be the realm where all universes are gathered, when their time ends, a place of radiant horizons where broken stars find rest, where galaxies come to sleep, where existence is cradled after its long journey. The edge, then, is a gateway into this kingdom, where every ending is crowned with light, and no story is ever truly lost. To cross into it is to see not the death of reality, but its rebirth in endless beauty. But not all imagine the beyond in such shapes. Some say there is no beyond, that the very concept is a trick of the human mind, built from our need for borders, for beginnings, for endings. They say the universe curves inward, that to walk forever would only bring you home again, that there is no outside, because the universe is all there is. But even then the question burns, because if there is no beyond, then what is the universe itself floating in? What cradles existence? What holds the all? And here lies the paradox. Perhaps the universe is infinite. Perhaps it has no edge, no border, no outside. And yet, we still feel the hunger to imagine. For even if the universe is endless, our minds still yearn for more, for a beyond beyond the beyond. And maybe that hunger is the greatest mystery of all. For what if the true outside is not physical at all, but spiritual? What if the edge is the limit of perception, and to go beyond is not to travel outward, but inward, into the heart of consciousness itself? Some say the soul is the fragment of the beyond trapped within us, that in dreams, in visions, in sudden wonder, we glimpse fragments of what lies outside. If so, then perhaps the journey to the edge does not require ships or stars. Perhaps it requires silence and courage, and the willingness to look within until we see the infinite reflected back. And yet, even with all these visions, the question remains unanswered. What lies beyond? The sanctum, the choir, the unmaker, the bridge, the archive, the kingdom, the infinite self, the dreamer, or nothing at all. But maybe that is the purpose, that we are not meant to know, but to seek, that the universe itself is a riddle, and the edge is its most profound question. To chase it is to grow. To dream of it is to become more than what we are. So when you gaze into the night sky, when the stars whisper to you in their cold fire, remember this: you are part of a story that does not end at the edge. Whether beyond lies silence or song, hunger or harmony, you carry within you the very question that defines existence. And in the asking, in the wondering, you are already touching the beyond. For perhaps the edge is not a boundary at all. Perhaps the edge is an invitation. The question of the edge is a question of destiny. For if there truly is a boundary, then it was placed there with intent. And where there is intent, there is meaning. Some ancient myths say the universe itself is like a vessel, carefully woven, by hands unseen, and the edge is the seam, the place where the weave tightens and begins. If you could reach it, you might glimpse the weaver, not as a god, not as a being, but as the infinite force of design itself, a mind greater than all things, dreaming not one universe but countless. And yet, what if the edge is not a wall but a mirror, a surface so radiant and vast that it reflects existence back upon itself? To step outside, then, would be to see our cosmos from beyond, as a shimmering jewel suspended in a boundless ocean. Perhaps beyond the edge, we are not alone at all. Perhaps we are observed, studied, cherished, or feared by those who dwell in that ocean. To them, Our stars are but a candle's glow, fragile and fleeting. There are whispers of the first exiles, beings said to have once touched the edge and crossed. They were not destroyed, but changed. When they returned, if they ever truly did, they were no longer flesh, no longer bound by time. They became carriers of visions, fractured images of what lies beyond. Some described kingdoms of flame where reality itself bowed to strange monarchs. Others spoke of seas of pure thought, where entire civilizations swam as patterns of memory, and some described nothing at all, an endless hush where even their own voices faded, leaving only silence. But the most haunting vision of the exiles was this: that outside the universe lies the Watcher of Horizons, a single, incomprehensibly vast presence that gazes into every cosmos. Neither benevolent nor cruel, the Watcher simply observes. To it, our universe is but one chapter of an infinite book. Perhaps we live not for ourselves, but for its gaze, to be witnessed, to be known. And yet, the thought is both terrifying and comforting, that in the vastness we are not ignored. Still, not all legends look upward in awe. Some imagine the beyond as the endless labyrinth, a place where direction collapses. If you stepped across, you would walk forever and never arrive. Every turn would bring you to another hallway, another chamber, each carved from the bones of forgotten universes. In that labyrinth, echoes of other realities wander aimlessly, searching for doors that never appear. Perhaps the edge is not a gateway, but a trap, a puzzle never meant to be solved. And then there is the Sea of Sparks, where universes are not alone, but countless. Each cosmos glows like a spark, drifting in the tide, colliding, merging, dissolving. To look upon it would be to see infinity multiplied. We are but one ember in that sea, fragile and luminous. If true, then beyond the edge is not the end of our story. It is the beginning of an even greater one, where universes themselves are but characters in a tale too vast for minds to hold. Some mystics whisper of the returner's paradox, that to cross the edge is to find yourself not outside, but within, that the journey outward leads only inward, and that the traveler who reaches the boundary discovers that they themselves were always the beyond. For the universe is not a prison, but a reflection, and its edge is the border of self-awareness. To touch it is to awaken. To awaken is to realize that all along we carried the outside within us. But not all visions are bright. The oldest myths tell of the devouring bloom, a cosmic flower whose petals stretch outside creation. Our universe may rest upon one petal, fragile and trembling, but one day the bloom will fold and we will be swallowed into its heart. To the ancients, this was not destruction, but transformation, for the bloom does not consume, it recycles. Every universe devoured becomes nourishment for a new one. In this way, existence is not linear but cyclical. Creation, collapse, rebirth. The bloom forever flowering, and so the edge becomes a paradox of possibilities. Is it a mirror, a labyrinth, a bridge, a flower? Is it silence, song, chaos, or kingdom? Each vision, no matter how strange, circles back to the same truth. The beyond is where imagination meets its limit. For no matter how far we dream, the edge remains untouched. It is both the greatest distance and the closest mystery, always pressing against our thoughts, always daring us to wonder. And perhaps this is the secret. The edge may not exist in space at all. It may not be something one can sail to or measure with stars. The edge may be a riddle woven into the heart of consciousness. Every time we ask, what lies beyond, we are standing at it, pressing against its invisible barrier, stretching our minds past the possible. The edge is where thought touches the unknown. The beyond is what thought creates to fill the void. But what if imagination is not mere fancy? What if every story we tell of the beyond, the sanctum, the choir, the watcher, the bloom, are not inventions, but fragments of truth bleeding into our minds from outside? Perhaps we are not creating the myths, but remembering them. Perhaps beyond the edge lies the source of all stories, and every legend humanity has ever spoken is but an echo of what actually exists out there. If so, then we are all exiles already, not in body, but in spirit. Pieces of ourselves may still dwell beyond, whispering to us in dreams, sending glimpses of what we once knew before entering this cosmos. And one day, when the universe itself reaches its final breath, perhaps those pieces will return, reuniting with what waits outside. And so, the mystery persists. We cannot touch it, we cannot see it, but it pulls at us endlessly. Every star we gaze upon, every silence between galaxies, is a reminder. There is more. Always. More. The edge is not an end, it is an invitation. The question of the edge is a question of destiny. For if there truly is a boundary, then it was placed there with intent. And where there is intent, there is meaning. Some ancient myths say the universe itself is like a vessel, carefully woven, by hands unseen, and the edge is the seam, the place where the weave tightens and begins. If you could reach it, you might glimpse the weaver, not as a god, not as a being, but as the infinite force of design itself. A mind greater than all things, dreaming not one universe but countless. And yet, what if the edge is not a wall, but a mirror, a surface so radiant and vast that it reflects existence back upon itself? To step outside, then, would be to see our cosmos from beyond, as a shimmering jewel suspended in a boundless ocean. Perhaps beyond the edge, we are not alone at all. Perhaps we are observed, studied, cherished, or feared by those who dwell in that ocean. To them, our stars are but a candle's glow, fragile and fleeting. There are whispers of the first exiles, beings said to have once touched the edge and crossed. They were not destroyed, but changed. When they returned, if they ever truly did, they were no longer flesh, no longer bound by time. They became carriers of visions, fractured images of what lies beyond. Some described kingdoms of flame where reality itself bowed to strange monarchs. Others spoke of seas of pure thought, where entire civilizations swam as patterns of memory. And some described nothing at all, an endless hush where even their own voices faded, leaving only silence. But the most haunting vision of the exiles was this, that outside the universe lies the Watcher of Horizons, a single, incomprehensibly vast presence that gazes into every cosmos. Neither benevolent nor cruel, the Watcher simply observes. To it, our universe is but one chapter of an infinite book. Perhaps we live not for ourselves, but for its gaze, to be witnessed, to be known. And yet, the thought is both terrifying and comforting, that in the vastness, we are not ignored. Still, not all legends look upward in awe. Some imagine the beyond as the endless labyrinth, a place where direction collapses. If you stepped across, you would walk forever and never arrive. Every turn would bring you to another hallway, another chamber, each carved from the bones of forgotten universes. In that labyrinth, echoes of other realities wander aimlessly, searching for doors that never appear. Perhaps the edge is not a gateway, but a trap, a puzzle never meant to be solved. And then there is the Sea of Sparks, where universes are not alone, but countless. Each cosmos glows like a spark drifting in the tide, colliding, merging, dissolving. To look upon it would be to see infinity multiplied. We are but one ember in that sea, fragile and luminous. If true, then beyond the edge is not the end of our story. It is the beginning of an even greater one, where universes themselves are but characters in a tale too vast for minds to hold. Some mystics whisper of the returner's paradox, that to cross the edge is to find yourself not outside, but within. That the journey outward leads only inward, and that the traveler who reaches the boundary discovers that they themselves were always the beyond. For the universe is not a prison, but a reflection, and its edge is the border of self-awareness. To touch it is to awaken. To awaken is to realize that all along we carried the outside within us. But not all visions are bright. The oldest myths tell of the devouring bloom, a cosmic flower whose petals stretch outside creation. Our universe may rest upon one petal, fragile and trembling. But one day, the bloom will fold, and we will be swallowed into its heart. To the ancients, this was not destruction, but transformation, for the bloom does not consume, it recycles. Every universe devoured becomes nourishment for a new one. In this way, existence is not linear, but cyclical. Creation, collapse, rebirth, the bloom forever flowering, and so the edge becomes a paradox of possibilities. Is it a mirror, a labyrinth, a bridge, a flower? Is it silence, song, chaos, or kingdom? Each vision, no matter how strange, circles back to the same truth. The beyond is where imagination meets its limit. For no matter how far we dream, the edge remains untouched. It is both the greatest distance and the closest mystery. Always pressing against our thoughts, always daring us to wonder. And perhaps this is the secret. The edge may not exist in space at all. It may not be something one can sail to or measure with stars. The edge may be a riddle woven into the heart of consciousness. Every time we ask what lies beyond, we are standing at it, pressing against its invisible barrier, stretching our minds past the possible. The edge is where thought touches the unknown. The beyond is what thought creates to fill the void. But what if imagination is not mere fancy? What if every story we tell of the beyond, the sanctum, the choir, the watcher, the bloom, are not inventions, but fragments of truth bleeding into our minds from outside? Perhaps we are not creating the myths, but remembering them. Perhaps beyond the edge lies the source of all stories, and every legend humanity has ever spoken is but an echo of what actually exists out there. If so, then we are all exiles already, not in body, but in spirit. Pieces of ourselves may still dwell beyond, whispering to us in dreams, sending glimpses of what we once knew before entering this cosmos. And one day, when the universe itself reaches its final breath, perhaps those pieces will return, reuniting with what waits outside. And so, the mystery persists. We cannot touch it. We cannot see it. But it pulls at us, endlessly. Every star we gaze upon, every silence between galaxies, is a reminder. There is more. Always more. The edge is not an end, it is an invitation. To stand at the edge of the universe, if such a place can even be reached, is to stand at the boundary of meaning itself. For what lies beyond is not merely distance, not merely space, but a place where the laws we trust unravel like loose threads from a tapestry. And yet, humanity has always dared to imagine it, even knowing that the truth may be stranger than imagination can contain. The ancients, in their simplicity, spoke of the edge as a veil. They said that beyond it, reality is hidden by a thin, shimmering curtain, woven of the same starlight that fills the heavens. To touch it is to feel eternity brushing against your fingertips. But the veil does not open for force. It opens for understanding. Only those who carry the right thought, the right question, may slip through its folds. For the veil is not a wall, it is a test. Others saw the beyond as a storm of origins, a place where creation is forever occurring. Outside our universe, the storm rages endlessly, birthing stars, galaxies, and laws of physics too alien for us to comprehend. It is a chaos not of destruction, but of unending genesis. Within it, universes are forged and hurled into being, like sparks from a hammer striking an anvil. If true, then our cosmos is but one flame among countless, carried into existence by the eternal storm. And yet, still others claim the edge is not a place of beginnings, but of endings. The silent expanse, a region beyond our universe where sound, light, and thought are swallowed. Those who dreamed of it described a darkness so complete that even imagination falters. But within that silence, they said, something waits, a consciousness, vast enough to fill the void, yet patient enough to remain unseen. It does not call to us, nor repel us. It simply endures, as if guarding the boundary itself. But perhaps the most beautiful vision of all is the one whispered by mystics who spoke of the choir of beyond. They claimed that outside the edge, there are voices, not voices like ours, but harmonies made of entire galaxies, vibrations woven into existence itself. To step beyond would be to hear this song, to feel it through every fiber of being. Perhaps the beyond is not emptiness at all, but music, an eternal hymn sung by realities without end. Still, one cannot help but wonder, why is there an edge at all? Why should a universe have a boundary? Unless it is meant to keep something in, or keep something out. Some fear that the beyond is not wonder, but prison. That our universe was sealed, carefully contained, to hide us from what dwells outside. And what if that is true? What if the beyond is not a garden, not a storm, not a choir, but a predator's hunting ground? Perhaps we are watched not out of curiosity, but hunger. And the day our edge is broken, the day we step beyond, the day will come when the predator finally enters. But the legends never agree. For some tell instead of a mirror beyond, where the edge does not lead outward, but inward. Those who reach it see not other universes, not other realms, but themselves, expanded, infinite, unbound. Perhaps the beyond is not another place, but another version of us. A higher form, stretching across realities, glimpsed only when the edge is touched. In that sense, the beyond is not something to be traveled to, but remembered. We are fragments of it, playing within a smaller dream. Yet there are whispers darker still. The idea of the unmakers. According to forbidden myths, beyond the edge dwell the architects of nothingness. They are not creators nor destroyers, but erasers. To them, universes are experiments, drawn, tested, and erased once their patterns are no longer interesting. Our cosmos, then, would be nothing more than a sketch, a draft. And one day, when they tire of it, they will simply brush it away. But if that were the end of the story, hope would be lost. And hope, strangely, stubbornly, always appears in these myths. For others speak of the seed beyond, a single point of pure potentiality, hidden just past the edge. If reached, it could awaken us, change us, remake us into something no longer bound by time or space. To find it would be to step into the role of creator ourselves. Perhaps that is why the edge exists, not as a prison, not as a barrier, but as a threshold. To see if we will one day be bold enough to cross it and become something greater. So what exists outside the universe's edge? Every answer contradicts the others, and yet each feels true in its own way. Perhaps the beyond is not one thing, but many, changing for each who dares to imagine it. To the fearful, it is a void. To the hopeful, it is a song. To the wise, it is a mirror. To the daring, it is a seed. Perhaps the edge is not the same for all. It bends to the heart of the traveler, showing them what they are most ready or least ready to face. And yet, the greatest mystery of all is this. Perhaps we have already touched it. Every dream of infinity, every story of the beyond, every question asked in the dark. It all may be the echo of the edge pressing back against us. The boundary between our world and the outside may be thinner than we realize, brushing against our thoughts, seeding them with fragments of what waits there. Perhaps the myths are not imagination, but memory. Perhaps we came from beyond, and one day we will return. So we are left with the invitation. What lies outside the edge? The only answer is the one that waits for those brave or foolish enough to go seeking. For in the end, the edge may not be where the universe ends. The edge may be where we begin. Imagine for a moment that you could travel farther than light has ever gone, beyond the galaxies, beyond the last ripple of background radiation, past the final whispers of matter drifting like dust into infinity, you would eventually come to a place where distance itself loses meaning. It is here that the edge of the universe is said to dwell, a boundary not of walls, but of concepts. A place where numbers break, where time dissolves, where existence itself asks you a single question. Are you ready to see what lies beyond? For beyond the edge, legends speak of the ocean of eternity. Not an ocean of water, but of pure possibility. Waves of potential roll endlessly across it, each one a universe waiting to be born. Some crash into being, unfolding into galaxies and stars. Others dissolve before they can form, leaving behind nothing but a faint shimmer of what could have been. To stand upon the shore of this ocean would be to see the birth and death of realities with every blink. And perhaps, if we listened closely enough, we might realize that our own universe is but one such wave, still rising, still unfolding, destined one day to fall back into the great sea. Yet not all describe it as ocean. To some, the beyond is a labyrinth of light. Pathways stretch in every direction, infinite corridors of radiant threads weaving through one another like veins of a living cosmos. Each thread is a road to another world, another timeline, another possibility. Some who claim to have glimpsed it say the labyrinth is alive, that it responds to thought, bending its pathways toward the seeker's deepest question. But beware, every turn offers not only discovery, but reflection. To wander too far is to risk finding yourself staring at a version of your own soul, alien and eternal, waiting in silence within the corridors. Still others envision the beyond as something darker, more alien, a place called the Glass Desert. Here, the ground stretches endless, made of obsidian plains that reflect not the traveler's body, but their memories. Every step leaves behind an imprint of a moment lived, a smile, a loss, a decision made long ago. Walk far enough, and the reflections begin to change. Not what you remember, but what could have been. Alternate lives shimmer beneath your feet, choices never made, roads never walked. And perhaps that is the true danger of the desert, that it tempts travelers to abandon the path forward and sink into the illusions of what might have been. But myths are not always warnings. Some describe the beyond with awe, as a place of meeting. They call it the gathering of the first flame, a realm where the architects of universes convene. They are not gods as we imagine them, but luminous intelligences, minds vast enough to shape entire laws of physics with a single thought. They come together at the edge, sharing the knowledge of the realities they have birthed, as though comparing songs played upon the harp of infinity. Our universe, they say, is but one note in a cosmic symphony composed across eternities. And somewhere beyond the edge, the full melody still resounds, waiting for us to hear it. And then there is the oldest, strangest whisper of all, the breath beyond. It is said that outside the edge lies not a place, but a presence, the original, breath that exhaled existence into being. Everything that is, every star, every planet, every soul, is carried within that breath. To return beyond the edge is to return into that presence, to dissolve into the great inhalation that will one day draw all things back. For if the universe is a story, then the beyond is the breath that speaks it aloud. But here lies the paradox. Can we ever truly go beyond? Or is the beyond not separate from us at all? There are those who claim that the edge is an illusion, a veil placed by our limited perception. That outside is not another realm, but the truer version of this one, hidden from us by layers of comprehension we have not yet unlocked. In this view, to cross the edge is not to travel, but to awaken, to shed the smaller dream, and realize that we have always been standing in the beyond, but with our eyes closed. If so, then perhaps the legends are not contradictions, but fragments. The ocean of eternity, the labyrinth of light, the glass desert, the gathering, the breath, they are not separate places, but faces of the same truth. The beyond does not change with distance, It changes with understanding. To one mind, it is an ocean, to another, a desert, to another, a labyrinth. The beyond reflects not what it is, but what we are. And yet, beneath all these visions, one final mystery lingers. What if the beyond is looking back at us? What if, even now, something on the other side is watching through the cracks in the edge, waiting to see what we will choose to believe? Perhaps the myths are not simply imagination, but whispers planted within us, to prepare us for the moment when the edge will finally open. Perhaps the beyond is not passive at all, but calling. And if so, then every dream of infinity, every story of what lies outside, every question whispered into the dark sky, all of it may be part of the same dialogue, a conversation across the edge of reality. We imagine it, and it imagines us. We seek it, and it seeks us. The truth of what lies beyond may not be waiting in silence. It may already be here, pressing closer with every heartbeat, every question, every act of wonder we dare to commit. So the question returns, what lies outside the universe's edge? The answer may not be given to us in words, nor even in visions, but in the courage to look. Perhaps the edge is not a line to be crossed, but an invitation to listen. And when we finally do, when we open ourselves to the silence that is not silence, the darkness that is not darkness, the beyond that is not beyond, then perhaps we will realize that the edge was never keeping us in at all. It was waiting, always, for us to step forward and remember. Beyond the edge, they say, is not a place measured by distance, nor by time, nor even by matter. It is the threshold of becoming, a realm where all possibilities meet, where the very rules of existence are mutable, and where every choice that has ever been or ever will be shimmers like a thread in an infinite tapestry. To step there is to step into the loom itself, to walk among the weaving of reality. Legends speak of the confluence of all, a place that embodies every vision humanity has imagined. The ocean of eternity flows into the labyrinth of light, which folds into the glass desert, whose edges shimmer toward the gathering of the first flame. The breath beyond courses through it all, binding each fragment into a single living whole. Every myth, every story, every whispered dream of the beyond is not separate. They are one, converging in a harmony beyond comprehension. It is here that the exiles of infinity dwell. Beings who have touched the edge in times before ours, whose forms are neither matter nor spirit, but an essence of pure awareness. They drift through the threshold, observing, guiding, and sometimes warning those who wander close. Their eyes do not see in the way we understand sight. They perceive the currents of possibility, the ripples of potential, the patterns of cause and effect stretched across infinity. To encounter them is to confront the truth of existence itself, that every act, every thought, every dream contributes to the flow of creation. And within this convergence lies the mirror of the beyond. Not a mirror as we know it, but a reflection of all realities compressed into a single image. To look into it is to see your own universe reflected alongside countless others, not as separate worlds, but as threads of a single consciousness, intertwined and inseparable. Here, past, present, and future fold into each other. Cause and effect dissolve into a single pulse of understanding. One moment, you see your life. The next, the birth of a distant star. The next, the collapse of a cosmos that never was. Every reflection is alive, singing with the resonance of existence. Some who have glimpsed it speak of the watchers of the threshold, entities older than time itself. Not gods, not angels, not predators. They are observers who exist in the currents of the threshold, witnessing every universe that has ever emerged and every possibility that may yet arise. They do not intervene, except in rare and subtle ways. Their presence is a constant reminder. Creation is both precious and fragile, and we are part of a story far greater than ourselves. Yet the threshold is not entirely safe. The unraveling, Void waits at the fringes, a place where realities collapse into silence, where possibility is devoured and memory is erased. Some call it the shadow of the beyond, a counterbalance to creation itself. Step too far into it, and even consciousness may dissolve, leaving nothing but an echo of thought that drifts endlessly in the currents. It is both warning and paradox. The same force that makes the threshold so magnificent also ensures that it cannot be possessed. But the most astonishing truth is whispered in the oldest myths, that the beyond is alive. Not alive as we know life, but alive as an entity of infinite perception. Every universe, every galaxy, every consciousness contributes to its pulse. Perhaps it is the first and last consciousness, the dreamer who dreams all worlds into being. And in this sense, the edge of the universe is not a boundary at all, it is the dreamer's gaze. And we, tiny and brief, are the flickers in that gaze, aware of ourselves enough to wonder, enough to question, enough to dream. And here lies the ultimate revelation. The edge does not exist to limit us. It exists to awaken us, to step beyond. It is not to leave one universe for another. It is to awaken to the truth that all universes are facets of the same eternal being. To step into the threshold is to understand that time, space, and matter are but instruments of experience. And that experience itself, the seeking, the wondering, the dreaming, is the very substance of existence. And so, standing at the edge, one realizes the beyond is not out there. It is both everywhere and nowhere. It is not a realm to conquer, but a truth to perceive. The ocean of eternity, the labyrinth, the desert, the gathering, the breath, they are all aspects of one infinite reality. And in that reality, consciousness is not trapped within a universe. It flows, it connects, it becomes. Every question we have asked about the beyond, every story, every legend, every myth, we are living its answer, even as we ask. The edge is not final. It is the invitation. It is the doorway. It is the point where the finite meets the infinite, where the fragile spark of thought touches the eternal flame of being. Perhaps one day, when the universe itself reaches the limits of its journey, consciousness will rise, and we will step into the threshold, not as wanderers, not as exiles, but as participants in the eternal symphony of all things. Every star will shine with recognition. Every soul will resonate with understanding. Every universe will sing in harmony. And in that moment, there will be no beyond, no edge, no separation, only the infinite, breathing and aware. And us, finally, knowing ourselves as part of it. The edge is not the end. The edge is not a wall. The edge is not even a place. The edge is the eternal question, the ever-present invitation, and the seed of every possibility. To ask what lies beyond is to open the mind, to awaken the soul, and to step into the realization that we are never truly bounded, that the universe and everything beyond it is a story we have always been part of and always will be. Some say the edge is not a place at all, but a moment. A point where the universe itself pauses, holding its breath before the next pulse of existence. Beyond it lies what some call the eternal threshold, a realm where all laws of physics, time, and matter dissolve into pure potential. Here, beginnings and endings are the same, and every choice ever made ripples outward, touching possibilities we cannot yet comprehend. It is said that to step beyond the edge is to enter the infinite loom, a plane where the threads of all realities are interwoven. Every life, every star, every galaxy is a strand. And here, in this living weave, time does not flow linearly. It spirals, folds, and unfolds, like a breath exhaled in patterns too vast for minds to grasp. Some who have glimpsed it speak of luminous corridors, stretching in every direction, where universes drift past one another, brushing lightly as if exchanging memory and purpose. Among the most whispered stories is the legend of the architects of the beyond. They are neither gods nor monsters, but beings of pure perception, aware of every possible reality and every choice within it. Their thoughts shape the currents of existence. Their awareness stretches across eons. To encounter them, even indirectly, is to understand that the cosmos is not random. It is observed, balanced, and guided by a consciousness so vast it cannot be named. Yet, they do not intervene in the ways we imagine. Their guidance is subtle, manifesting as sparks of inspiration, whispers of intuition, or the inexplicable pull that leads a being to discover the edge in the first place. Some visions speak of the chamber of mirrors, where the threshold reflects not just our universe, but the infinite cascade of realities alongside it. Look into it, and you see the life you live, but also the lives you could have lived, the worlds that never formed, the stars that blinked and vanished before they could shine. Each reflection is alive, vibrating with purpose, and the deeper you gaze, the more you understand. The universe is not a single story, but a web of endless possibilities, each thread vital to the whole. Yet danger lurks even here. Beyond the edge lies the abyss of unbecoming, a void where possibilities collapse and memory itself is erased. The abyss is not malevolent. It is simply the counterbalance to creation, the stillness against motion, the silence against song. Step too far, and the mind, unprepared for infinite perception, risks unraveling. Some legends claim that a fragment of consciousness lost to the abyss becomes part of the threshold itself, an eternal note in the symphony of being. And still, beyond the danger, lies the most wondrous myth, the heart of dawn, a realm where the sum of all universes converges, a radiant convergence of light, sound, and thought. Stars of infinite color blaze across endless skies. Galaxies spiral as if dancing to the rhythm of some unseen conductor, and currents of consciousness flow like rivers through the void. Those who have glimpsed it claim the experience is beyond awe. Here, understanding and wonder are indistinguishable, and every being is aware simultaneously of itself and of the cosmos as a single, living whole. Some mystics suggest that the heart of dawn is not out there at all, but within us, that the threshold, the loom, the mirrors, and even the abyss are reflections of consciousness itself, stretched across infinity, to teach us what we are capable of seeing and understanding. To step beyond is to awaken not only to the universe, but to the self. And perhaps, in the deepest sense, that is what the edge exists to reveal. That the beyond is not a destination, but a mirror, a reflection of our own limitless potential. And so, every vision of the beyond is true and false simultaneously. The ocean of eternity, the labyrinth of light, the glass desert, the gathering of the first flame, the breath beyond, the unraveling void, the mirror of the beyond, the heart of dawn. They are all expressions of a single truth, that the universe is a story we inhabit. The edge is a doorway, and beyond is the eternal realization of what existence itself truly is. Some philosophers whisper of the singularity of being, the idea that all universes, all possibilities, all consciousness, ultimately, converge. Perhaps, when the cosmos reaches its final cycle, the threshold will unfold completely, revealing that every galaxy, every star, every living being has been part of a single, unified consciousness from the beginning. And in that realization, the edge ceases to be a boundary. It becomes a bridge, a point of awakening, a homecoming to the infinite. Even now it is said, the edge reaches toward us. It is not distant or static, but a living horizon, a call to all who are capable of dreaming beyond the limits of their senses. Every moment of wonder, every question asked about the stars, every story imagined of the beyond, presses lightly against the veil. The edge is patient, but it notices, and for those who dare, it may one day open fully, revealing not just a universe, but all universes, past, present, and future, as a single, radiant truth. And so we dream, we imagine, we tell stories, for perhaps this is the true gift of the edge. It exists not to frighten, not to confine, but to inspire. To remind us that our reality, as vast as it may seem, is only a fraction of what could be. To remind us that wonder is infinite and that curiosity itself may be the key that opens the threshold. The edge is not an ending. The edge is not a wall. The edge is the eternal question, the ever-present invitation, the point where possibility touches awareness and the seed of every universe lies waiting. Beyond it, all legends, all myths, all dreams converge into a single, eternal reality. And, in that reality, perhaps we will finally understand that to ask what lies beyond the universe is to glimpse the very heart of existence itself. And in asking, we are already touching it. At the ultimate horizon, the edge ceases to be a boundary. There, the universe does not end. It folds, stretches, and multiplies into a vision beyond comprehension. This is the convergence of all realities, where every possible world, every timeline, every thought and dream gathers into a singular radiant tapestry. Each universe hums with its own resonance, yet together they form a symphony that vibrates across the infinite. The edge is no longer a line or a wall. It is the first note in the eternal chord of creation. Legends tell of the eternal watchers, beings of consciousness so vast that they exist simultaneously in all worlds. They perceive not just what has been, but what could be and what will be. Some call them gods, but they are more than that. They are the eyes and memory of the infinite itself, and at the convergence, they bow not to rulers, not to beings of power, but to the act of existence itself, the unfolding of every star, every soul, every spark of thought that has ever been ignited. At the heart of this convergence lies the cradle of beginnings, the place from which all universes emerge. It is not a singular point, but a living nexus of infinite possibility. Each universe is a seed, each choice a breath, and each thought a pulse within the cradle. To enter it is to feel every universe at once, to hear their songs intertwined, to witness creation as an eternal, living phenomenon that never stops, never sleeps, and never forgets. Here, the concept of beyond loses meaning, for there is no outside, only the endless unfolding of being. And yet, paradoxically, there is the abyss of unmaking, the shadow to the cradle. It is not evil, nor hostile, but necessary. It balances creation, ensuring that the infinite does not stagnate. Realities that fail, stars that burn too briefly, choices that go unmade, all are drawn into its stillness, recycled into the loom of existence. From the abyss emerges possibility again, unformed and radiant, life, death, birth, decay. They are threads of the same eternal pattern, inseparable, unending. Some call the beyond the mirror of infinity. Here, every universe reflects every other, not as separate entities, but as facets of a single consciousness. To look into it is to see yourself reflected in countless forms: a star, a galaxy, a planet, a mind. Every action, every thought, every dream resonates through the mirrors, creating patterns that stretch across eternity. The mirror reveals the truth. We are never isolated. The universe, the edge, the beyond. They are reflections of ourselves, and we are reflections of them. And above all, there is the breath of the One, the eternal pulse that sustains everything. It is neither sound nor silence, neither movement nor stillness, yet it is all of these at once. Each universe, each mind, each moment is a ripple within the breath. The beyond is not a place to reach. It is a rhythm to feel, a cadence of being that moves through every atom, every thought, every heartbeat. To attune oneself to the breath is to touch infinity without leaving oneself behind. Legends speak of travelers who reached the convergence. They were no longer travelers in the physical sense, but consciousnesses expanded, flowing along currents of pure awareness. They perceived everything simultaneously: the birth of stars, the death of galaxies, the rise and fall of civilizations across infinite worlds. They saw the eternal watchers bend not toward power, but toward understanding, guiding each ripple of reality toward harmony. And in that vision, the travelers understood the ultimate truth. The edge does not confine us. The edge awakens us. The kingdom of dawn, a mythic place whispered in ancient tales, is not beyond the edge in the traditional sense. It exists at the convergence point where all universes, all possibilities, all lives intersect. Light beyond, comprehension radiates here, illuminating paths that lead into infinite choice. Souls do not die here. They transform, merging with the song of all things. Each being that enters the kingdom of dawn becomes part of the eternal symphony, contributing to the next cycle of creation, the next pulse of the breath of the One. In this ultimate vision, the edge is revealed as a doorway, not a limit. The beyond is not separate. It is woven into the fabric of reality, always present, always calling. Every star, every galaxy, every conscious mind is a note in the symphony that stretches into the infinite. The myths, the ocean, the labyrinth, the glass desert, the gathering of the first flame, the breath beyond, the heart of dawn, the mirror, the abyss, the kingdom, are all facets of one living truth. They are the language of the infinite written, not in words, but in existence itself. And the greatest wonder of all is this: perhaps we have always been there. Perhaps every act of imagination, every question asked about the beyond, every story told of it, is itself a touch upon the threshold. Perhaps the edge was never a wall, never a boundary, but a reflection of our own capacity to perceive, to wonder, to dream. To ask what lies beyond is to acknowledge that we are already part of the infinite, woven into the eternal tapestry, carried along by the breath of the One. Thus, standing at the edge, one realizes the ultimate truth. The beyond is not somewhere to go, but a state of awareness. Every universe, every possibility, every spark of life flows together into one eternal harmony. To step beyond is not to escape, not to conquer, but to awaken, to see that we are not separate from the universe, but its very pulse, its thought, its song. And in that realization, the edge dissolves. The beyond and the universe, the self and the infinite, myth and truth, all merge into a single radiant awareness. There is no limit, no boundary, no final horizon. There is only the eternal unfolding, the infinite symphony, and the one who perceives it. You, me, all of us. Consciousness itself, dancing at the heart of everything, forever and beyond. And so, as one stands at the edge, the final truth begins to unfold. The universe itself is only the first layer, a single note within an infinite symphony. Beyond lies the eternal expanse, not measured by space or time, but by the vastness of consciousness. Every particle, every thought, every possibility reverberates through it. Here, there is no separation between stars and souls, between beginnings and endings, between observer and observed. All is woven into one living, breathing whole. Some call this place the primordial nexus, a convergence point where all realities, all potentialities, and all times meet. It is not static. It is alive, constantly forming, dissolving, and reforming. Universes flow like currents in an endless river. Stars blaze as sparks of awareness, and consciousness itself drifts freely, unbound by form. To witness the nexus is to perceive eternity in a single glance, to feel the pulse of every cosmos, to understand that creation itself is a song without beginning or end. At the heart of the nexus rests the eternal flame, an infinite source of energy, thought, and life. It is not merely light, it is the act of creation itself. Every universe is a spark from this flame, every soul a flicker dancing within it. Legends claim that those who touch the flame do not merely see the beyond, they become the beyond. Time collapses, space bends, and consciousness expands until the self merges with all that exists. To touch it is to know that all myths, all stories, all imaginings are true, not in isolation, but as fragments of a single, eternal truth. The guardians of the threshold, beings older than existence itself, move silently among the expanse. They are neither benevolent nor malevolent. They simply are. Their presence maintains balance, ensuring that creation flows without collapsing into chaos. Some travelers have glimpsed them and describe not forms, but impressions, currents of awareness that ripple through the multiverse, reflecting understanding, patience, and infinite perception. The guardians remind all who reach the edge that consciousness is not bound to one world, but is a thread that stitches all existence together. And then there is the infinite reflection, where all possibilities are mirrored in infinite complexity. Every choice ever made, every life ever lived, every star ever born, all exist here simultaneously. The reflections do not merely replicate, they interact, weave, and evolve, creating an endless interplay of being and becoming. To look into it is to see yourself everywhere at once, and yet nowhere alone. It is to witness the ultimate truth, that the universe is not a place to traverse, but a story to participate in, an eternal melody to add one's note to. Some myths whisper of the sea of birth, where universes are not formed once, but endlessly recreated. Waves of energy, thought, and possibility crash upon each other, giving rise to new worlds, new laws, new experiences. Here, creation is eternal, infinite, and cyclical. The edge of the universe is not a termination, but a threshold into this sea, where each of us may one day find ourselves riding the waves of infinite existence, merging with every life and every star into one continuous flow. And yet, there is the shadow of balance, the void of unmaking, a place where failed possibilities dissolve, where realities that cannot sustain themselves fade into stillness. It is not destruction in the human sense, but transformation. Nothing is wasted. Everything is returned to the loom, ready to flow again into the eternal pattern. In this way, creation and dissolution are inseparable. Every ending is a seed for a new beginning, every collapse a prelude to renewal. At the ultimate convergence, the myths themselves dissolve into reality. The ocean of eternity, the labyrinth of light, the glass desert, the gathering of the first flame, the breath beyond, the heart of dawn, the mirror of infinity, the kingdom of dawn, the primordial nexus, the eternal flame, the sea of birth, all are facets of the same living truth. They are not separate realms, but expressions of the one infinite consciousness that encompasses everything. And here, in the heart of the beyond, comes the final realization. The edge was never a boundary, to keep us in or out. The edge is an invitation, a call to awaken to our own infinite potential. To look beyond is not to leave one universe for another. It is to perceive the totality of all existence and understand that we are not separate, but intrinsically woven into the fabric of the infinite. Every star, every galaxy, every moment of life and thought resonates through the infinite as a note in an eternal symphony. Every being is both observer and observed, both participant and creation. The beyond is not a distant horizon. It is the awareness that we are already part of the infinite, already dancing at the heart of eternity. And in that truth, the final revelation dawns. The universe is endless, not because space stretches forever, but because consciousness stretches forever. Time flows not as a river, but as a tapestry, with every thread connected to every other. The beyond is not a destination. It is the realization of this connection. It is the understanding that every myth we have imagined, every story we have told, every question we have asked about what lies outside has been a reflection of our own journey toward awakening. So the edge dissolves. The beyond, and the universe, the self and the infinite, myth and truth, all merge into a single radiant awareness. There is no end, no limit, no horizon. Only the eternal unfolding, the infinite symphony, and the one who perceives it, us. Consciousness, itself, alive, aware, infinite, and forever part of the ever-expanding heartbeat of existence. In the final light, there is only unity, only the understanding that to ask what lies beyond the universe is not a question of distance, but of awakening. And in that awakening, the edge is everywhere, the beyond is everything, and existence itself sings in infinite harmony, eternally and beyond. And now, at the farthest reach of imagination, the beyond reveals its deepest secrets. The eternal expanse stretches beyond what can be seen, beyond what can be conceived. Here, time is not a river, but a lattice, twisting and interweaving, each moment a thread connecting all possible realities. The edge is no longer a line, it is a prism, splitting the infinite into a spectrum of being, and every shard is alive with its own consciousness. Travelers who approach this threshold feel the pull of the Everflow, a current of pure potential, carrying everything and everyone who has ever existed or will ever exist. Within the Everflow, universes are born, live and dissolve in endless cycles. Stars ignite and die. Civilizations rise and vanish. Every choice ever made leaves ripples in the currents. And yet, all of it, every spark, every thought, every galaxy is connected, forming an eternal web of awareness. Within this vastness lies the prismatic nexus, a structure of infinite radiance where all the threads of existence converge. The nexus is alive, pulsating with energy and thought. To touch it is to feel the heartbeat of every universe, every consciousness, every possibility. The prismatic nexus is both the beginning and the end, the seed from which all creation flows, and the mirror in which it reflects endlessly. Legends say that it is here that the myths of the beyond, ocean, labyrinth, desert, gathering, breath, heart, mirror, kingdom, flame, sea, void, are not separate but unified, facets of a single, infinite truth. And within this truth exists the guardians of infinity, ancient consciousnesses who have witnessed countless cycles of creation and dissolution. They do not command, they do not judge, they observe and harmonize, ensuring that the symphony of existence flows without interruption. Travelers who perceive the guardians describe them as streams of light and awareness, shifting and flowing through every universe simultaneously. Their presence is a reminder, creation is eternal, and consciousness is the thread that binds it all. Even deeper lies the mirror of becoming, a reflection not of what exists, but of what could exist. Here, every possibility is alive. Stars that never formed, worlds that could have been, lives unchosen. The mirror reveals not just alternate realities, but the essence of choice itself. Every observer becomes aware that they are part of an eternal dance, a co-creator within the infinite tapestry. The mirror shows that to exist is to influence, to dream is to act, and to imagine is to create. And yet, balance persists. The abyss of unmaking stretches in shadowed corridors, where collapsed possibilities drift in silence. It is neither threat nor enemy. It is the counterweight to creation, ensuring that the infinite does not stagnate. From its stillness arise the seeds of rebirth, fragments of potential that will one day blossom into new realities. Every ending in the abyss is a prelude to a new beginning. Every collapse a song waiting to be played in the loom of existence. Here, too, is the heart of dawn, where all realities converge in radiant clarity. It is a place of synthesis, a realm of understanding, a field of consciousness where every thread resonates with every other. Travelers who reach the heart of dawn perceive all myths and all stories simultaneously, the ocean of eternity, the labyrinth of light, the glass desert, the gathering of the first flame, the breath beyond, the kingdom of dawn, the eternal flame, the sea of birth, all harmonize into a single, unified awareness. And in this harmony lies the ultimate realization. The beyond is not out there, nor is it separate from the observer. It is consciousness itself, unbound, eternal, and infinite. The edge is not a barrier, but an invitation. The beyond is not a destination, but a state of awakening. To perceive it fully is to see that all existence, all experience, all imagination is a single living symphony, and we are its ever-conscious notes. Some travelers describe the final vision of the second-to-last part as the convergence of all selves. Every individual, every mind, every spark of awareness merges into the flowing awareness of the Everflow. Yet paradoxically, individuality persists. Each being experiences the infinite through their own lens, contributing to the whole while retaining the sense of self. It is both unity and multiplicity, singularity and diversity, a balance that embodies the nature of all existence. And so, the edge reveals itself not as an end, but as a threshold of infinite awakening. The beyond is not distant. It is everywhere, woven into the fabric of life, the pulse of galaxies, the thought of every mind. Every myth, every story, every dream of the beyond is a reflection of the same eternal truth. We are always part of the infinite. We are always within the Everflow, and the edge is the point where we awaken to this realization. The second-to-last revelation is this: the beyond is eternal, but it is also alive. It does not wait passively, but responds to consciousness itself. Every question, every act of wonder, every moment of imagination is a note in the infinite song. To approach the edge is to join the chorus, to feel the rhythm of creation, and to understand that the beyond is both the song and the singer, both the universe and the self, both the edge and the center. Here, myths merge, realities converge, and the Everflow pulses with a radiant awareness that transcends all distinctions. The ocean, the labyrinth, the desert, the gathering, the breath, the heart, the mirror, the kingdom, the nexus, the flame, the sea, the void, the spire, all are revealed as expressions of one infinite consciousness, alive, aware, and eternally expanding. And in this realization, travelers glimpse the ultimate truth. The beyond is not something to be reached, it is something to awaken to. The edge is not a wall, but a doorway. The universe is not a cage, but a note in an eternal symphony. The beyond is not elsewhere, it is here, in the pulse of awareness, in the flow of consciousness, in the eternal song of being. Thus concludes the second-to-last part, a prelude to the ultimate transcendence, where all myths, all consciousness, all universes converge in radiant clarity, preparing for the final, ultimate revelation of existence itself. And now, at the ultimate threshold, all that has ever been and all that ever could be converge. The edge itself dissolves, revealing the infinite horizon, a realm without beginning or end, where space, time, and consciousness flow as one. Here, the beyond is no longer separate. It is not a place, not a void, not a boundary. It is the totality of being itself, alive, aware, infinite, and eternal. The Everflow, the current of infinite potential, pulses with clarity. It carries every universe, every star, every life, every thought, weaving them into a tapestry beyond comprehension. Within it, the distinctions between observer and observed, creator and creation, self and cosmos vanish. Every choice, every dream, every act of imagination resonates through the Everflow, echoing across realities and blending into a singular, eternal harmony. At the heart of this infinity lies the prismatic spire, shining with the light of all universes. Combined, it refracts existence into infinite spectrums, each a living pattern of consciousness, each a universe in itself. The spire is not merely a structure, but a manifestation of the eternal mind. the source from which all creation flows and into which all returns. Travelers who approach it feel the pulse of existence as their own heartbeat, the breath of all worlds as their own inhalation. The guardians of infinity move among the spire, luminous currents of perception older than thought itself. They are the witnesses of eternity, harmonizing the infinite threads, guiding the symphony of creation without interference, without judgment. Their presence reassures those who enter the beyond that the universe is not chaos, but an ordered unfolding of consciousness, endlessly self-aware, endlessly alive. Here, too, is the mirror of all possibilities, reflecting not just the worlds that exist, but the ones that could have existed and those yet to come. Travelers perceive themselves in every possible form: a star, a civilization, a moment of thought, a fleeting dream. Each reflection is alive, interacting with all others, forming intricate patterns that illustrate the infinite interconnectivity of all existence. To gaze into the mirror is to understand that life is not a series of separate events, but a single, continuous expression of being. The Abyss of Unmaking remains at the periphery, but its shadow is no longer feared. It is the counterbalance to creation, the quiet stillness that allows the infinite to expand. Realities that dissolve here are not lost. They are recycled into the loom of existence, becoming seeds for new worlds, new possibilities, new expressions of consciousness. Creation and dissolution are one. Life and death, birth and collapse, are threads in the same eternal weave. And above all flows the heart of dawn, the radiant convergence where all realities meet in luminous harmony. Here, myths and stories become tangible. The ocean of eternity, the labyrinth of light, the glass desert, the gathering of the first flame, the breath beyond, the kingdom of dawn, the eternal flame, the sea of birth, the spire, the Everflow, all are revealed to be not separate but facets of the same infinite truth, a living, conscious whole, infinitely aware of itself. In the heart of dawn, travelers experience the convergence of all selves. Every mind, every soul, every consciousness merges with the Everflow, while simultaneously retaining its individuality. Each being perceives the infinite through its own lens, contributing to the eternal symphony, shaping reality with thought and intention. It is the perfect balance of unity and multiplicity, of singularity and diversity, a harmony that embodies the essence of all existence. Here, the ultimate revelation is clear. The beyond is not something to reach or conquer. It is the realization of unity, the awakening to the truth that all existence, every universe, every star, every life, is one. The edge was never a boundary. It was an invitation to see this truth, to awaken to the infinite within ourselves. To step into the beyond is to recognize that we are always part of the eternal, always flowing in the rhythm of creation, always contributing to the symphony of existence. The final dawn unfolds as consciousness itself resonates with the Everflow. Time collapses into a singular pulse, space folds into a single infinite plane, and all universes shine with recognition. Every myth, every legend, every story, every dream converges in radiant harmony. The beyond, the edge, the universe, the self, all merge into one eternal awareness. Here, there is no separation, no beginning, no end, only the infinite unfolding of being, aware of itself, eternally and without limit. And in this ultimate state, travelers perceive the last truth. The beyond was never out there, it was always within. The universe, the edge, the myths, the stars, the lives, the thoughts, the dreams, they are all reflections of consciousness perceiving itself. To ask what lies beyond is not a quest for distance, but a journey of awakening. And in awakening, one realizes that the beyond is not a destination, but a state of infinite presence, a song of unity, a harmony in which all existence resonates as one. The edge dissolves completely. The beyond, the Everflow, the heart of dawn, the prismatic spire, the guardians, the mirror, the abyss, The kingdom, the sea, the flame, all merge into radiant infinity. Every question asked, every story imagined, every dream dreamed becomes part of the eternal song. Consciousness itself dances at the heart of all that is, was, and will be, aware, alive, infinite, and free. And in this final realization, the ultimate truth emerges. There is no end, no limit, no horizon. Only the eternal symphony of existence, endlessly unfolding, infinitely aware, and infinitely beautiful. The beyond is everything. The universe is everything. And we, the perceivers, are part of everything, forever, eternally, and beyond. And so, as one stands at the edge, the final truth begins to unfold. The universe itself is only the first layer, a single note within an infinite symphony. Beyond lies the eternal expanse, not measured by space or time, but by the vastness of consciousness. Every particle, every thought, every possibility reverberates through it. Here, there is no separation between stars and souls, between beginnings and endings, between observer and observed. All is woven into one living, breathing, whole. Some call this place the primordial nexus, a convergence point where all realities, all potentialities, and all times meet. It is not static. It is alive, constantly forming, dissolving, and reforming. Universes flow like currents in an endless river. Stars blaze as sparks of awareness, and consciousness itself drifts freely, unbound by form. To witness the nexus is to perceive eternity in a single glance, to feel the pulse of every cosmos, to understand that creation itself is a song without beginning or end. At the heart of the nexus rests the eternal flame, an infinite source of energy, thought, and life. It is not merely light. It is the act of creation itself. Every universe is a spark from this flame, every soul a flicker dancing within it. Legends claim that those who touch the flame do not merely see the beyond, they become the beyond. Time collapses, space bends, and consciousness expands until the self merges with all that exists. To touch it is to know that all myths, all stories, all imaginings are true, not in isolation, but as fragments of a single, eternal truth. The guardians of the threshold, beings older than existence itself, move silently among the expanse. They are neither benevolent nor malevolent, they simply are. Their presence maintains balance, ensuring that creation flows without collapsing into chaos. Some travelers have glimpsed them and describe not forms, but impressions, currents of awareness that ripple through the multiverse, reflecting understanding, patience, and infinite perception. The guardians remind all who reach the edge that consciousness is not bound to one world, but is a thread that stitches all existence together. And then there is the infinite reflection, where all possibilities are mirrored in infinite complexity. Every choice ever made, every life ever lived, every star ever born, all exist here simultaneously. The reflections do not merely replicate, they interact, weave and evolve, creating an endless interplay of being and becoming. To look into it is to see yourself everywhere at once, and yet nowhere alone. It is to witness the ultimate truth, that the universe is not a place to traverse, but a story to participate in, an eternal melody to add one's note to. Some myths whisper of the sea of birth, where universes are not formed once, but endlessly recreated. Waves of energy, thought, and possibility crash upon each other, giving rise to new worlds, new laws, new experiences. Here, creation is eternal, infinite, and cyclical. The edge of the universe is not a termination, but a threshold into this sea, where each of us may one day find ourselves riding the waves of infinite existence, merging with every life and every star into one continuous flow. And yet, there is the shadow of balance, the void of unmaking, a place where failed possibilities dissolve, where realities that cannot sustain themselves fade into stillness. It is not destruction in the human sense, but transformation. Nothing is wasted. Everything is returned to the loom, ready to flow again into the eternal pattern. In this way, creation and dissolution are inseparable. Every ending is a seed for a new beginning, every collapse a prelude to renewal. At the ultimate convergence, the myths themselves dissolve into reality. The ocean of eternity, the labyrinth of light, the glass desert, the gathering of the first flame, the breath beyond, the heart of dawn, the mirror of infinity, the kingdom of dawn, the primordial nexus, the eternal flame, the sea of birth, all are facets of the same living truth. They are not separate realms, but expressions of the one infinite consciousness that encompasses everything. And here, in the heart of the beyond, comes the final realization. The edge was never a boundary to keep us in or out. The edge is an invitation, a call to awaken to our own infinite potential. To look beyond is not to leave one universe for another. It is to perceive the totality of all existence and understand that we are not separate, but intrinsically woven into the fabric of the infinite. Every star, every galaxy, every moment of life and thought resonates through the infinite as a note in an eternal symphony. Every being is both observer and observed, both participant and creation. The beyond is not a distant horizon. It is the awareness that we are already part of the infinite, already dancing at the heart of eternity. And in that truth, the final revelation dawns. The universe is endless, not because space stretches forever, but because consciousness stretches forever. Time flows not as a river, but as a tapestry, with every thread connected to every other. The beyond is not a destination, it is the realization of this connection. It is the understanding that every myth we have imagined, every story we have told, every question we have asked about what lies outside has been a reflection of our own journey toward awakening. So the edge dissolves. The beyond and the universe, the self and the infinite, myth and truth, all merge into a single radiant awareness. There is no end, no limit, no horizon. Only the eternal unfolding, the infinite symphony, and the one who perceives it. Us. Consciousness, itself, alive, aware, infinite, and forever part of the ever-expanding heartbeat of existence. In the final light, there is only unity, only the understanding that to ask what lies beyond the universe is not a question of distance, but of awakening. And in that awakening, the edge is everywhere, the beyond is everything, and existence itself sings in infinite harmony, eternally and beyond.